Hello, thanks for joining me again today. I hope you're doing well. We're halfway through the current series of Highly Relational. And in that time, we've been joined by 7 fantastic guests who've shared with us the tips, tricks and insights they've all come to understand about what makes a great team tick. I continue to be amazed by the terrific thought leadership, practical ideas and wonderful conversations that we're having, and I'm so pleased to be able to say that we fully intend to continue that trend. Our aim has always been simple: to provide you with new and exciting ways of bringing people together, to enable and inspire exceptional collaboration, and to support you in developing great teams, whoever you are and wherever you work. With topics ranging from the power of purpose, our unconscious process at work, and the numerous opportunities of 21st century collaboration, Highly Relational is fast becoming the go-to business podcast for all things team. Firstly, I want to say thank you to our guests. They've given up their valuable time to be with us and have shared their hard-won knowledge so that we can learn from them. Collectively, they have many decades of personal experience and, of course, wisdom of facing into the joys and messiness of bringing people together to do their best work. So a huge thank you to them for coming to talk to me, and so to you. And that, of course, brings me to you, our most important listener. Whether you've been with us since the beginning or joined us more recently, I really appreciate you being there and coming on this journey with me. No matter how good the guests or how great the conversations, without you and your desire to learn more about the art and science of human collaboration, none of this would be worthwhile. So thank you. Thank you for being here, for coming back each week to listen in. You make all the difference. Today, I'm once again here to share with you some of my reflections on the conversations we've had so far, in the hopes of encouraging you to reflect too. It's by reflection that you're most likely to make the ideas you hear your own, and in that way, bring them to life with the teams you're on, lead, or consult with. So let me share with you my personal reflections about the 6 hours of thought leadership we've had so far, and my hope is that you'll do something similar. The 2 themes which stand out for me have each been touched on to different degrees by several of our guests. The first, perhaps influenced by my own work, is about finding the balance between relationship and task. And secondly, the obvious importance of leadership in helping bring people together in ways they didn't think possible. So let's begin with relationship versus task and its relevance to all the work we do, both as individuals and in teams. Lucy Widdowson and Paul Barbour, partners at Performance Edge, kick us off with a clear calling for higher quality relationships at work.
It's about connection before the work. So often we see teams and they're just so task focused that they're not spending the time to get to know each other, deepen relationships and therefore have open and honest conversations.
And just building on what Lucy said, on top of that, just spending time with each other. You know, it's like we often get teams come together and they say that was just wonderful, just being with each other. And that's simple. That's simple.
It is simple, and it's very human. We're social animals with complex needs for connection and community. As international keynote speaker Craig Goldblatt puts it, our desire for human connection is driven by deep emotional need.
We all share one thing. We share many things, but we share one major thing from a purposeful perspective within our careers. And that is we all share the same emotional needs that we need to meet. We all have to feel certain and safe to a degree. We all have to feel excited and have a sense of variety. We all have to feel significant and worthwhile and important and connect deeply to the people around us and build relationships at work. We all have to feel that we have the opportunity to grow ourselves and contribute to others. That's shared. Those emotional needs are shared by everybody on the planet.
And these needs don't just disappear when work moves online. Future of Work expert Gwen Stirling Wilkie sees both challenge and opportunity here, but it requires much higher levels of intentionality to make the best of 21st century working.
But in terms of the topic of connection, what I often see is people just don't feel they have time to do the connection piece first. You know, if we were in a physical room, we might have a coffee together and have a bit of a chat, and then we might physically move ourselves to the table and sit down. Well, what's the equivalent of that when you're working virtually? How do you allow the time and the space for people to come together? You know, maybe for you and I to go off into a breakout room and have a little bit of a catch-up chat first. You know, that's one of the ways we can build connection in.
So that's my first big takeaway from the series so far, that the scales need tipping on the side of people, emotions and relationship in order for any task to be done in the best, most productive way possible. Moving on to my second standout theme, leadership. It's so easy to think that being a leader is binary. Either you are or you're not. Leadership is a skill like any other, and to get really good at it requires continuous work and effort. Julia Carden's doctoral research on self-awareness provides wonderful insight into just how important it is for leaders to look inwards, reflect, and ultimately come to know thyself.
Yeah, we have to do a little bit of work ourselves to get to be those great leaders. God, I wished somebody had said to me in 1989 when I started my leadership training at Britannia Royal Naval College, start thinking about who you are as a leader and where did that come from? Do you know what? I think it would have just started making me tap into where are my lines in the sand? Where are my boundaries? Where are my expectations? Why have my expectations as a leader come from that? And my standards, you know, of course, the Royal Navy impose a whole load of their own onto you. But I also had some lines in the sand of my own that I was prepared to perhaps, you know, not compromise on. And just knowing that sort of stuff would have been so helpful because I would have had clarity as a leader. And of course, you know, you then look at David Marquet's work on greatness about leadership, about clarity is so key.
Gabriella Braun, author of All That We Are, goes even further, highlighting the impact our unconscious process has on who we take ourselves to be and what we do. She encourages us to be curious without blame, both with ourselves and others, in order to get a grasp on what's happening beneath the surface of our conscious minds.
I think where it starts in a way is curiosity without blame. So the team leader, first of all, paying attention to their own feelings and being curious about them. How come I was in a great mood and then I had that team meeting and I felt awful? What was that about? So being curious about it rather than putting that aside, bouncing off to the next meeting as if that's irrelevant. Just come out of it, go to the next meeting. It's relevant. It's information. You could use it.
And with that information, possibilities open up. Coach and consultant David Kesby is an expert in extra-dependent teams, formed of people who share a common practice. David sees great value in leaders who can help their team get comfortable with vulnerability. And a simple way to do this is by sharing successes and failures together, what David calls the thrills and spills.
And then you get thrills and spills, which are the stories, the heroes, the villains, the myths, the legends, which are cultural sort of artefacts, really. And those stories it's the spills and the thrills. The mistakes are so important to share so that everyone else knows what not to do as much as what to do. And there's vulnerability in sharing your mistake or where you went wrong, or, you know, I nearly fell into this elephant trap, or whatever it might be. So if leaders can create the conditions for that exchange to happen in their meetings and their regular meetings, then that will be enriching.
So there you have it, my personal reflections on the first half of this, our second series of Highly Relational. I hope you're finding the series thought-provoking and inspiring. That's certainly our intention. If you've heard some of these conversations already, terrific. I hope I've jogged your memory. And if you're new to Highly Relational, I hope these clips have inspired you to listen to the whole conversations. There really is so much great insight in each episode, and I have no doubt you'll get value from the time investment. And of course, what you're taking away from these conversations could be very different to me. Do let me know in the comments or review section of wherever you're listening or watching. I'd love to hear how you're making sense of what we're finding out together. So that's it for today. Do connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have a guest or topic recommendation, do let me know. We'll be back next week with a preview of what you can expect from the second half of the series. I promise more great guests, thought-provoking ideas, and actionable tips on creating great teams where you work. You've been listening to Highly Relational. I'd like to thank today's studio engineer at Spiritland Studio, King's Cross, Will Thornton. Post-production is by Shaun Lawson, and the series producer is Ella Halsall. I'm Robert Digings. Thanks again for listening. You really do make all the difference. See you next week.